In 2016, a YouTube channel called Yelle's Marble Runs created something that would change the world forever. It would teach people the meaning of teamwork, competition, and what an athlete truly is. This world changing event was called the Marble Olympics, in which teams from all across the world would come together to fight for the goal to prove once and for all what the best truly means. I now stand before you, ready to rank the teams because I needed an easy video for January, but also to put my foot down and tell you once and for all that baseball, soccer, and even football are nothing compared to what these world class athletes are doing every year. This is my ranking of all the teams in the Marble Olympics. Okay, hi. I'm Gracie, and this is bad framing the town, but I am at my parents' house, and this is what happens when you watch one too many Yells Marble League videos. Before we begin, I do have to clarify a couple things. Yes, these are literally marbles, but they are also marble athletes with strategies and thoughts. They have governments and histories and families, and they go home at the end of the day. Like they have lives, basically. They are literally marbles, but they are also literally competitive athletes. If this confuses you, just pretend like you're seated really high up in the stadium and you're looking down, and all you can really see are the team's uniforms, but not really any details. Secondly, the Marble Olympics is now called Yale's Marble League after a change in 2019. So I'm going to call it the Marble League from now on, but the Marble Olympics will always be iconic. I'm going to go in order of an online ranking thing that I have. So in, I think, alphabetical order, this is my ranking of the official, we'll get to it, 32 teams of the Marble League. Beginning with the Balls of Chaos, which is honestly a really great place to start, the Balls of Chaos hail from one of the oldest and biggest cities called Hunluin. Hunluin is located in Asia. Yeah, Earth. Marble Earth. Hunluin was home of the original members of the Balls of Chaos, Anarchy, Clutter, Snarl, and Tumult. The team had been competing in the Marble League since its conception in 2016. Overall, the Balls of Chaos is a pretty mid team. They average about middle of the pack, 8th place, not even qualifying for competition in 2017. I want to explain that though. Before the Marble League begins each year, there's a qualifier in which all 32 teams compete for the 16 positions in the main competition. If a team doesn't qualify, they get put into the Marble League showdown where, I hate to say it, but the stinkers go. If you're a bad team, the showdown is where we're going to find you. Balls of Chaos, though, isn't my favorite team. I do like that their coach is named Harmony, which I think is really clever. However, I don't know, their uniforms aren't like ghastly or anything. So, C tier, that feels like a good place to start. How did that feel? If you love the Balls of Chaos, not great, but I hope it clarified what this whole thing is going to be like. Some history, some drama, and definitely very interesting. This is obviously something that is very interesting to a lot of people and not a very niche interest at all. Like, I mean, look, John Oliver sponsored the Marble League once, so this is obviously, a very wide net that I'm casting here. The Bumblebees are a team that was formed in 2010 to compete with a different flying insect team named the Hornets. They come from Eastern Europe in a city called Buzzpig, located next to Buznaya, neighboring Buzzkill. Obviously. The Hornets were from Buzzkill, and their rivalry with the Bumblebees ran deep. The original Bumblebees, Bee, Swax, Honey, and Bumble, were brought together by Captain Bumble to compete against the Hornets in the bug circuit. However, they could never quite beat the Hornets. This rivalry would stay locked until 2018, with both the Hornets and the Bumblebees failed to qualify for the league and met in the showdown. This was where they finally put aside their rivalry to train together as equals, and maybe just in time too. In 2021, the Hornets told their rivals that they were going to be retiring from Marble League forever due to bankruptcy. The Queen of Buznaya wouldn't take this, and she went to the royal treasury to provide a home for the Hornets. During this time, the two teams would grow together, and in 2021, Stinger and High from the Hornets would be integrated into the Bumblebees, replacing Bee and moving Swax to reserve to become one united team. Come on, that's amazing! Drama, history, interesting is the important word here, obviously. But If I'm honest, I don't really like the Bumblebees very much. I think they do fairly well in the showdown. However, the showdown is shorter and easier. I don't love their uniforms. However, I do really like bees. I think they're cool. And due to their story of rivalry and unity, I think the Bumblebees deserve a bee spot. Next up is a team that I don't have strong feelings for, so let's read a bit about their history. The Chocolatiers come from the topographical region around the Mount Bonsall in South America. The village of Bonsall is called the sweetest place on marble earth. The original members, named Bonbon, Cocoa, Chalk, Mocha, and the reserve, Fudge, were confectioners who sought to create the world's biggest chocolate bar. And they did it. The candy bar broke records and attracted former wrestler named Candy. Candy approached Bonbon and proposed what to do with the large candy bar. They ended up using the giant bar as a ramp and launching themselves over a bar. However, this wasn't when the Chocolatiers were born. In the first Marble League, the top three teams from the competition, called the Circulo, would be invited to compete. However, when they placed fifth, their dreams would be dashed. It wasn't until the third place and fourth place declined the invitation that the Chocolatiers would become the Marble League that they are today. And the team they are today isn't very good. I know that the Chocolatiers always qualify because of their brown uniforms. They the best they've done out of 16 teams in the Marble League is 7th. So what can I say? Teach your team and moving on. The Crazy Cat's Eyes is an interesting team. They're actually the models for the entire Marble League with their iconic spherical uniforms that create the cat eye effect. The cat eyes are from a North African city called oh my goodness, it's feline Nia. So it's feli, fel, The cat eyes are from a North American city called Felinia. The cat eyes have existed since the start of the Marble League. They were also the hosts in 2021. The cat eyes are a good team. They don't perform amazingly, but I love their clever names due to their design. The cat eyes are a pretty middle-of-the-road team with an average placement of 8th, so they could be doing better. They perform better outside the Marble League and other Yells competitions like Marbula 1, but in the main event, they are just okay. But I think they're neat. So, B tier. The Green Ducks are a team that I think are fine. They don't offend me. I don't think I have literally ever rooted for them, but let's hear a bit about their history. Hailing from the Brace Islands, the captain of the Green Ducks was inspired by watching marbles race in the Tour de Veles. Captain Mallard would return home to Birmingham, inspired to become a marble athlete. However, their dreams would have to be put on pause when one of Mallard's parents died. Their other parent, named Bombay, was all the family Mallard had left. To help with their family, Mallard searched for work and found himself working at Pear Tree Farm. There they met the other original members of the Green Ducks, Quacky, Ducky, and Goose. 4 years later, in 2017, Mallard won tickets to the Marble League, and with his new friends, that dream of competing welled up in Mallard again. Mallard steeled himself and convinced their parent Bombay to coach them into becoming a real marble team. Their successes began small, winning little tournaments here and there, but the money that they earned let Mallard and the other members into financial stability, and when an older team retired, the Green Ducks knew it was now or never. They competed in the 2019 Marble League qualifiers and got second place, their first time ever competing, and auto-qualified for the future Marble Leagues. They did it! Till this day, the members of the Green Ducks organize junior leagues and work with young marbles to inspire the next generation of athletes. That was beautiful! Oh my gosh! Mallard worked so hard for everything they've gotten, and that's B tier. Oh, that was so real. Professional athletes really are just like us, aren't they? What the fuck am I saying? The Hazers come from an unspecified region within Marble Earth. The team's origins are shrouded in mystery. Okay, Marble Wiki, thank you. It's assumed that the Hazers come from the regions around Mount Huaz. However, the members are clammy about their origins. The Hazers state that they believe their performance in the Marble League is what we should focus on and not their origins. Okay, well, how do you perform in the Marble League then? pretty damn good. Since 2018, they have come sixth, third, sixth again, and fourth. Except last year when they didn't even qualify because the world was freaking upside down in 2022. The teams that normally don't do well did great, and the teams that normally do well sucked. Somebody sold their soul in 2022 to the Marble Devil and flipped that scoreboard upside down. Anyway, Hazers, your uniforms are on the nose, and I can't say I'm sorry you placed 14th in the showdown last year, so D tier. Next on the charts is the Hornets, who we've already talked about. So this is a really good point to mention that this chart was made in 2019. So it doesn't have the teams added in 2022, and it has some retired teams like the Hornets. However, here's a little history on the Hornets. The Hornets' original members, Stinger, Wasp, Vespa, and Hive, and Reserve Yellow Jacket, have known each other since childhood. The members were known for their skills in marble racing and were coached by Swarm, the parent of Vespa. The Hornets performed well in the Marble League, however, in 2021, their debts caught up to them. They came to the conclusion that they had to sell the team to save the team. They were split up on the decision, but as we know, the Queen of Bosnia saved the Hornets. However, this wasn't received as a blessing by all the Hornets fans. The former Hornets spokesmarble, named Thorax, was extremely unhappy with the merge and rallied other angry Marble League fans. However, we all know how this story ends. Stinger and Hive join the Bumblebees, Vespa and Wasp become trainers behind the scenes, and furthermore, Yellow Jacket and Swarm organize youth events and do scouting. Look, that made me sad for some reason, but the Hornets aren't a good team. They placed second in the 2019 showdown, but in 2020 they placed 16 out of 16 in the Marble League. They were destined to go bye-bye, and I've never cared for them, if I'm honest. D tier. Up next is a team called the Indigo Stars. This is a team that was formed in 2010 on the small island of Hiu on the southeastern tip of India. The original members, Indiegogo, Diego, Bindo, and Reserve Montoya, have been with the team for the last 12 years. The five and their coach, Ringo, met on a hike in the gorgeous Hiuian vistas. They competed and trained together for years, however, they took a mental health break in 2019. The team changed the way they were training and living in order to live healthier lives, and to this day continue those healthy habits like hiking every day on their beautiful island. Yeah, they're cool. I unfortunately don't care much about the Indigo Stars, and they are not in the top 3 of color-related teams. They do bad in the league, but mediocre in the showdown. They're pretty solid C tier, honestly. I don't hate them, but they're just like okay, but I don't know, something about them, like I think they're cool also, but they're just okay enough to be C. Next up is a team called the Jawbreakers that actually retired in 2021. I don't remember having anything against the Jawbreakers. The Jawbreakers captain, Candy, is the same one that encouraged the Chocolatiers to become athletes. The team is from the city of Draenor in South America. The original members, Candy, Tidbit, Mouthful, and Tongue Twister, were wrestlers that competed in Lucha Marble leagues. The 4 of them were rivals in the ring, but when they competed together in a charity race in 2010, they made headlines. The team didn't perform extremely well due to lack of teamwork, however, they continued racing together and eventually won the 2015 Circulo Championship. This was the same race that the Chocolatiers got 5th, but because the Jawbreakers were first, they were invited to the 2016 Marble League, where they would finish 7th. However, there was drama amongst the team. After the Marble League, Candy would allege mistreatment from the other marbles. The entire team would quit, and leaving only Candy to carry on the Jawbreaker name. However, this would not fix the Jawbreakers. After many years of mediocre performances, they would not compete in 2021 and faced retirement. In the last decade, they have changed their athletic and managerial roster many times, and it was clear that the members just didn't enjoy the competition anymore. The team split up and claimed to be on hiatus, but Candy wasn't done. They still wanted to compete, but couldn't find members. Candy went all around Marble Earth and ran into an old friend, Tongue Twister. They told Candy that it was time to let a good thing end. Candy looked inside themselves and discovered Tongue Twister was right. Candy would announce the end of the Jawbreakers. They celebrated the end of their career with fellow Marble teams like the Chocolatiers. This one was different. It was almost depressing. Candy was somewhat authoritarian and ruined friendships. Depressing. Do I put them in D for depressing? Okay. The next team is the Jungle Jumpers. They're actually a team that was involved behind both the Chocolatiers and the Jawbreakers. The Jumpers come from Luara in South America, a village hidden deep in the dense forest. The original members, Hop, Skip, and Jump, and Leap, grew up together in the village and enjoyed jumping, but not just regular jumping, base jumping. The four of them were featured in a magazine article that went viral. The virality had them invited to the Circulo. The members won the race, beating the Jawbreakers that year. In 2016, they were invited to the Marble League. However, they were denied their invitation and raced in the Circulo one more year. Denying this would allow the Chocolatiers to go to the Marble League. The Jumpers would finally compete in 2017, where they would unfortunately not place very high due to oversleeping and missing the final event. It was a heartbreaking result for the team, but they were determined to do better. They focused up and decided to quit partying in 2019. The Jumpers placed a fair 7th in 2019, however, hard times were coming for them. The Jumpers' bid to host Marbula 1 caused a 6-lane highway to be built through the forest, and with days before the athletes were scheduled to arrive, the track was still not finished. In a chaos, the fire broke out and burned large sections of the rainforest. Moreover, after the construction, the city needed money and caused the displacement of Luarian citizens. Hop gathered the team and told them that they couldn't continue like this. The team began questioning their choices and whether their dream was worth damaging the city that they loved. The Jumpers learned that their growing fame wasn't worth destroying the village. Well, there's a lesson in there somewhere. The Jumpers aren't a great team, though. I think their uniforms are pretty good. I think that I would root for the Jumpers if they were going up against a team I disliked. They're not a good team, though. They're showdown material where they still don't do very well. Good story, though. I think I'll put them in C just because they provided us with a good story and a good lesson. I've just looked at the ranking and noticed there are no A, S, or F teams, but don't worry. There are many more teams to go through, plus 4 new teams added in 2022. We are definitely going to have a bell curve, but there are at least one S tier team and at least one F tier team. Moving on to the Cobalts, who, off the bat, I like the Cobalts. I love blue, and I love their shade of blue. The Cobalts come from the African city of Zuro, where the original members Azure, Cerulean, Royal, and Dodger met while they were in college. The team still has a love for academia. However, while playing a tabletop RPG game, they watched a featurette of a local marble league that inspired the team to put their knowledge of academia into athletics. They participated in the first Marble League where they performed moderately at 9th place. Unfortunately, the team would split up the following year as Royal and Dodger wanted to focus on academia and left the Cobalts. The Cobalts contracted 2 other marbles who competed in the 2017 Marble League, where they placed a poor 13th. Royal and Dodger watched this from the stands, and their poor performance persuaded Royal to rejoin the team as a reserve member. After some more team shuffling, the Cobalts got first place in the showdown and used their new fame and money to raise money for charities. The following year, in 2021, the Cobalts once again placed first in the showdown. However, their success didn't last as they placed 14th in 2022. The Cobalts haven't qualified for a Marble League since 2016, but until 2022, they were the best of the worst. I like the Cobalts, though. They don't even have a very interesting story, but I like them. Their uniforms have this shimmer to them that I really like, and they are one of the only teams with one-word names. I was really happy when they won in 2022 and 2021, but they break my little heart each and every year because they never qualify for the actual league. However, the Cobalts are an A-tier team. Congratulations, Cobalts, on breaking that glass ceiling. Up next is the Limers, who come from the Adriatic coast of Europe in a town called Satsevsa. The original members Sublime, Lemon Lime, Gel Lime, and Slime Lime, which is such a gross sounding name, started their careers in a local racing competitions where they caught the attention of Marble League sports commentator Greg Woods. Greg invited the team to the Fruit Circuit, a large fruit-centric marble competition. The Limers proved themselves as strong racers, earning them an invite to the 2016 Marble League, where they unfortunately placed in the bottom two. Upset by their placement, the Limers went to Jelle themselves and advocated for the score system to be changed from a medal system to a point system, which did happen. The Marble League gives teams points according to where they place in each event, instead of only giving it to those who place in the top 3 and get medals. The following year, in 2017, the Limers only got 10th, but they were really happy with the new scoring system. However, the Limers have performed badly in every marble event they have ever attended, and they only have 1 gold medal to their name. The best they've done is in 2022 getting 8th place in the showdown. The Limers' uniforms aren't anything to write home about, nor do they have a very compelling story. I was very nice to the Kobolds, so unfortunately I have to be mean to the Limers. Perhaps they don't deserve it, but they kind of do. The Limers are an F-tier team. They replaced their old coach in 2022, and it didn't help at all. I wouldn't be surprised if the Limers were forced to face retirement. Sorry, Limers. Following up that poor performance is Mellow Yellow, who come from the city of Almalanta. The original members, Yellow, Yella, Yelly, and Yella, met while working in Nondescript Soda Company, where the four discovered that they were miserable in their job and moved out of Amalanta. Greg Woods invited the Marbles to compete in the fruit circuit, saying they were close enough to a fruit. Mellow Yellow initially struggled, however, with hard training, they would get second in the Fruit Cup and were invited to the 2016 Marble League. Mellow Yellow actually won the entire 2016 Marble League and also got third in 2017. However, in 2018, they got 15th. In the following years, Mellow Yellow would perform badly over and over and over again, shaking the Marble's resolve. However, it wasn't the end of Mellow Yellow yet. They faced the best teams from across the globe in the Marble League, and in the last event, placing 4th, launched them to the front in number 1 and won the competition. Mellow Yellow had returned to their city with love and praise from their fans. They showed off the high highs and low lows that the Mellow Yellows can achieve every year. However, they have never failed to qualify for a Marble League, and year after year after year, it's a coin toss to know if Mellow Yellow is going to be in the top 3 or the bottom 3. Their fans love them, but their erratic performances must be giving Marbles heart attacks. Yeah, I don't know. I don't really like Mellow Yellow. Their uniforms are okay, I guess. I feel like every time I think of Mellow Yellow, it's because they have yoinked the win from one of my favorite teams. I know they have fans, but Nondescript Soda Company is the most exciting part of their backstory to me. I do like that they are a bunch of marbles who left their job to do something that they love, but they're a D-tier team. The Midnight Wisps. This is interesting because I don't actually know how I feel about the Wisps. I like their names, but don't really know anything about them. Coming from the northern city of Halarve. Oh yeah, Larvae, that makes so much sense. Oh, stinkin'. Coming from the northern city of Halarve, Wispy, Wespy, Waspy, Wuspy, and Waspy met on a bus tour of a national park. They quickly bonded and began to race through the national park that got them kicked out and banned. Their time in the national park inspired the group to compete in the Marble League and are named after an arboreal phenomenon that caused blue lights to form the night sky. The Midnight Wisps named themselves after those glowing lights and dressed in uniforms that imitate those blue lights. The Midnight Wisps performed well in their first years and even won the 2018 Marble League Winter Games due to being accustomed to the cold winter air. They were allowed back into the national park, and they even renamed it Midnight Hollow National Park in honor of the Wisps. The Wisps have started their own competition called Midnight Melee that hosts several hockey teams in which all the proceeds are donated to local charities. The Midnight Wisps are a good team. They tend to do either very well or very bad, but I don't think their presence has ever annoyed me. I like their uniform concept, and their names are just cheesy enough to make me laugh. Low B tier, but a nice team. Following that is the Minty Maniacs, who come from Herbatomia in Southeast Asia. This city is known as being the freshest place in the world, and the original members, Minty Drizzle, Minty Flav, Minty Fresh, and Minty Swirl, and Minty Mint, are all mint-flavored candy fanatics. They have been competing in local competitions like the Fruit Circuit before being invited to the Marble League due to their high performances in the Bueno tournament. Their first Marble League was in 2018, where they didn't perform well, but decided to stick with the Bueno tournament the following year. However, the Bueno wasn't selling a lot of tickets and unfortunately closed despite efforts to keep it opening. Upset by this, the Minty Maniacs returned to Herbatomia and worked with the chocolatiers to create an ice cream called Mint Chocolate Condition, where all proceeds go to support local Marble League tournaments. And basically, that's the story of the Minty Maniacs. They performed well in 2019, a third place finish, but they're not a great team. Even in the showdown, they placed 8th in 2019. I wish they had more of an exciting story. I like their colors and I like minty flavors. I feel like they're a D tier team, but I don't know. I'll put them in C. I feel like I want the Minty Maniacs to succeed, but they just don't do that very often. Okay, let's talk about the Oceanics. The Oceanics come from the city of Dundee, where aqua, seashore, and ocean grew up together and worked together. They discovered a love for racing around in the sand and competed in local marble tournaments under the name Team Moana. However, due to a nondescript entertainment company, they were forced to change their name to the Oceanics. The first few years of the Oceanics competing in the Marble League, they performed very poorly, and that weighed heavily on the team. Even in 2018, with some strong successes, the Oceanics struggled in water events and ended up the tournament in third. Their low placement caused the turmoil between the members and even created beef with other Marble League teams. In 2019, with the Oceanics hosting the Marble League, there were some more roster rearrangements. The Oceanics went from having Tide as a reserve to being a coach. However, it didn't feel the same with Tide watching from the sidelines. The team once again struggled in water events and performed badly the year that they hosted. The Oceanics were victims to the host curse. After being bought by the royal family of Dundee, the Oceanics wanted to focus on training. They trained all year long, and in 2022, the Oceanics did something amazing. They did good in a water event. It was called the Miracle in Waves, and even though they only placed 10th overall, the Oceanics received apologies from the other teams for making fun of them. Moreover, they won the 2021 Marble League Winter Special, blowing the minds of their fans. Fans of the Oceanics are a resilient bunch who stuck around by the side of this water team who struggles in water, but one can't say they don't try their hardest. I am an Oceanics fan. I love the Oceanics. Of course I am. They're blue. They suck though. Being an Oceanics fan means I genuinely think maybe this year, only to be disappointed every year. I don't know if I have stressed this enough, but they suck at water events. It's unbelievable. They will be miles in the lead and then they hit the water and it's Suck City. Ooh. Excluding 2018, where they got third, the Oceanics have never done better than 10th place. 2022 was a year of upsets, but the Oceanics found themselves right where they belong. Last place. I love you, Oceanics, but you break my heart each and every year. Each and every year, you just break it. B tier. To turn a bit of a corner. Oh! It's time to talk about the O-Rangers, people. The wiki cites the O-Rangers. I have knocked over something because I was so excited. The wiki cites the O-Rangers as one of the best teams in the Marble League, and due to my own bias, they are absolutely right. The original O-Rangers are 5 siblings from Florida in Orlando. They are led by Mandarin, with the original members being Clementine, Kinoan, Tangerine, and O-Rangin. They originally competed in a local competition and were invited to the Fruit Circuit. They competed in the Fruit Circuit for many years with the Limers and Mellow Yellow. They also competed in the first Marble League, finishing a 5th overall. However, they wanted more, and in the following year, they finished first place, clutching the winning spots in the final events. The O'Rangers continued doing good in the past years, but due to an uncontrollable complication like the host curse and track malfunctions, the O'Rangers have yet to find themselves in number one again. They did achieve second in 2022, losing to the unarguable best team in the whole Marble League, their rivals. Sadly, the O'Rangers don't have a very interesting story. I think honestly they're Nepo babies or something like that, but it's nice to learn that they are family members and to relive their initial successes. The O-Rangers haven't done anything amazing in the last few years. However, that rival I mentioned, who I hate, I will get to them when I get to them. The O-Rangers are also one of the teams that bullied the Oceanics, which sucks for us, but the Oceanics deserve to be made fun of. It sucks though. The O-Rangers haven't done very well in the last few years. They tend to finish top 50%, but that isn't very high. I tend to cheer for three main teams, the Oceanics, the O-Rangers, and another team we haven't gotten to yet. So it's hard to stay proud of my guys in the recent years since they've all kind of sucked. However, none of my qualms with the O-Rangers is going to keep me from putting them in the S tier. I know the O-Rangers get some hate, but these Orange Farm boys have my heart. Up next is a cute little team called the Pinkies. The Pinkies hail from Roseka, an island off of East Asia. The original members of the Pinkies, Pinky Rosa, Pinky Winky, Pinky Dink, and Pinky Toe, met performing in a local theater production. After competing in a local competition, the Pinkies found themselves drawn from the stage to the starting line. They began competing locally under the name Kapinkies, which soon changed to Pinkies, and they were invited to the first Marble League, in which they tied for last. That's the Pinkies, though. They have been traditionally thought of as a pretty crummy team, showdown fodder, as one would say. When they hired a new coach, things seemed rocky with a 14th place start in 2019. However, they slowly started increasing in score, and they got 5th in 2020 and 2nd in 2021, both in the showdown. However, it was 2022 when their intense training really paid off. I think that the Pinkies had been written off. I mean, I'd written them off, but as I said, 2022 was the year the Marble League was flipped upside down. The Pinkies had a rough start with an 11th place showing in climbing. However, they kept slowly improving with each event. However, the closer they got to the top, the harder it seemed for the Pinkies to stay on top. They would be in first place, then second place, then third place. It appeared as if a Marble League trophy was moving out of reach for the Pinkies. However, with a silver medal in the final event, the Pinkies were 19 points ahead of the second place and actually won the whole damn thing. From two 16th place showings, the Pinkies had just conquered the best teams on all of Marble Earth. Not bad, Pinkies. I have never loved you, but I do feel like that was kind of an underdog story. I'm going to put them in low B tier, honestly, just because I'm happy they won this year. Up next is my good guys named the Raspberry Racers. They come from the raspberry capital of the world, where Razzie, Rozzie, Rezzy, and Rizzy were scouted for the fruit circuit, where they developed a rivalry with the Limers. The Racers are a much better team than the Limers. The Racers would not qualify for the 2017 Marble League, but they trained in secret for the following year. In 2018, the Marbles struggled, but they finished in 8th place. However, they trained and competed in many events that year, including the Habueno in preparation for the 2019 year, a hectic year for the young sports team. During the qualifiers, a fight broke out between the Racers fans and another team's fans due to a DNF on the other team. This didn't shake the Racers, who continued fighting for the top tier spot, moving between the top 5 positions. However, in the end, their victory was decisive. They won a record-breaking number of medals in 2019 and finished first overall, their second year ever competing in the league. The Raspberry Racers have done well in the Marble League ever since that record-breaking 2019 year, but not amazing. The highest the Racers have finished in the last 3 years is second. They have a lot of medals, but not often a lot of high scoring showings. I like the Racers a lot though. They're my third team I root for. I prefer the O-Rangers to win, but then the Racers and then the Oceanics. I like the Racers uniforms. I think on average red is a better color than blue, but there are some stunning blues out there. They're an A-tier team, and when I donated to the Yelle's Marble League video game, I chose to have the Raspberry Racer marble named after me. So yeah, I like the Racers. Up next is the Rojo Rollers, who come from the outskirts of Number Run in Central America. Number Run has a landmark called called the Colina Run, a historical artificial hill used for marble racing that inspired the rollers from a young age to become athletes. Rojo Uno, Rojo Dos, Rojo Tres, and Rojo Cuatro met at their job in the Sydney Centre. They competed in the Circulo, where they didn't place very high, but over time they improved and were invited to the first Marble League ever, where they placed 5th. However, after that, they didn't qualify for any Marble Leagues 2 years in a row, and the Rojo Rollers' morale was declining. They planned to return to Nummerun and become professors when they went to a convention that blew their minds. They saw record-breaking crowds that came to meet them, and the Rollers realized that they still have a large fan base that rooted for them and want them to continue. This encouraged them to try one more time for the Marble League, but once again they failed to qualify. Their coach, Rojo Cerro, is quoted as saying that they could work well as a team, but only Uno and Dos are the only marbles that can perform individually. The Rollers were at an all-time low. However, things could still get worse when their longtime competitive friend, Red Number 3, was caught up in a controversy that started when the Rojo logo changed from a red number 3 to a roller skate. Red thought they were cutting them off, which created animosity. However, when red number 3 was exposed to be made of resin instead of glass, giving them a competitive advantage, the Rollers were sucked into the controversy. This tarnished their reputation, but the Rollers decided to stick by their close friend. The Rollers have continued competing, but they find themselves constantly at the bottom. However, they have great sportsmanship and can be found taking their lumps with honor and constantly trying their best. Yeah, the Rollers suck though. I hate that I like them. I mean, they look cool, but they are just shockingly bad at marble sports. One time I asked my father if Alabama is a great team. We're talking about college football now. And he said that they always win. And I said, "Aw, they should let the others win." So that's my opinion on sports. I like watching it, but I don't know how to pick them. Hi B, moving on. We have finally arrived at my least favorite team in the Marble League. The Savage Speeders come from 3 cities in which even before setting one foot on a Marble League track, they were well known as professional athletes. Speedy, Rapidly, Velocity, Swiftly, and Wizzy were all racers in the Tour de Velas, a marathon near each of their respective towns. In their first time at the Tour de Velas, they ranked 5th overall, which was unheard of for a rookie team. They trained in secret with techniques that would win them the Tour de Velas 2 years in a row. They were called Relentless and Savage by their fans, which was adopted as their name. They were invited to the first Marble League by Greg Woods himself, where they won. The Speeders would go on a World Victory Tour and continue to train in a secret facility protected by local police, even apprehending a fan one year for getting a little too close. In 2017, they finished 2nd overall and were not happy with this placement. They came back with a ferocity in 2018 with erratic highs and lows in performance, where they lost by a single point to the Midnight Wisps. Frustrated with losing the last 2 Marble Leagues, the Speeders hired a new coach named Quickly. Quickly led them to some early victories, but only led to a 5th place finish, the worst for the Savages since their conception. 2020 rolled around and the Speeders had a rocky start. They finished at the bottom of the pack due to lack of communication and infighting at the beginning of the competition. However, Coach quickly took control of their team and yanked podium placements in the next 3 events. The Rangers, the Wisps, the Speeders, and even the Oceanics fought for the top spots, steadily shrinking the O-Rangers' lead. When the O-Rangers did poorly in the last event, the Savage Speeders took their opportunity, and after 4 years, they were back on top. The Speeders had just won their 2nd Marble League, and in a moment of overwhelming sportsmanship, the Speeders and the O-Rangers celebrated the victory together. It was time for the Speeders to take a little break where they organized galas and made public appearances. They even met with other top-ranking teams like the Minty Maniacs and the Midnight Wisps and exchanged notes on training. This break resulted in a 7th place performance in the 2021 Winter Special, but Coach quickly noted a joy in their players that wasn't there before. The team opened up about their training and even hosted outreach programs. The Speeders created a youth team called Cruise Control to compete in their old marathon, the Tour de Velas. That's so sweet, isn't it? Hardcore competitors growing into people who just love the game and even help the youths. Isn't it sweet? No, it's not sweet. Don't let the Speeders get into your head. They are vicious. They have taken more away from me than any other team in the Marble League. They are just too freaking good. They are literally the number 1 team in marble sports. They are Alabama, and they need to let everyone win a little more often. My dad would say that isn't the point of the game, But I would like to remind you that they are marbles, and statistically, the Savage Speeders do way too well. Also, I don't like their uniforms very much. Am I happy that they became more open and giving people? Yeah, of course I am. But I hate them. On principle alone, I do not like the Savage Speeders. What principle would that be? The principle that believes that these marbles are sure winners, and if they were real people, at least one of them would get canceled. Dig up those old tweets. I bet Swifty has something to say that he shouldn't have for a privileged marble. Yeah. Stuck on that. This is all very serious. This is very serious. These marbles matter. No, yeah, absolutely. This is a very serious job that I'm doing. If no one was going to do it, I was going to do it. F tier, thank you. Get out, Savage Speeders. The Shining Swarm come from the city of Galim, located on the West African coast. The original members of the Shining Swarm, Shiny, Sparkle, Shimmer, and Sterling, had a former band. What the heck? These marbles are cool AF. Their band was called the Marbeats, which is like not a great name, but they had many popular singles. Their most popular song, Roll Over and Roll Out, also not a good name, references their growing success in the sphere of marble sports. Their first Marble League was in 2017, where they began unimpressively, but shone in the collision events. They placed 7th overall, which was a surprise for the bandmates. After the Marble League, they continued to make music and tour one last time before retiring their guitars in 2018 to focus on the competition. This initially didn't turn out well for them, placing last in many of the off-season events, and their nerve had been shaken by 2019. The Shining Swarm performed poorly and didn't qualify for the Marble League that same year. They decided to return to music in 2020 and went on their Marbly Mystery Tour. They met many other marble athletes while on the tour and raced in smaller events like the Circulo leading up to that year's Marble League. The band had begun to balance their musical and athletic ambitions, and in 2020 they placed 4th overall in the showdown. The next year, they qualified for the main event and placed 9th with 1 gold medal. However, in the crazy year that was 2022, they put on their best shoes, and with 3 gold medals, they got 2nd place behind the Pinkies. It was a long road for the Shining Swarm, who chased their passions, pleasing fans all across Marble Earth. Dang, they have an extremely popular band on Marble Earth. That's kind of fire. I don't know who wrote this wiki page, but they put some love into it. That was great. I enjoyed reading about the Shining Swarm. I had literally 0 feelings for the Shining Swarm before this, but I like them. I grew to appreciate them. And that's a B tier marble. Up next is a little team called the Snowballs, who, let me be the first to tell you, have a long wiki entry. The Snowballs come from the smallest city of Halefern in the far northeast of North America. Halefern is known for its ski slopes that attract thousands of tourists each year. One of these families is even our friends called the O-Marbles family, who make up the O-Rangers. One member, Snowflake, would meet their buddies Snowstorm and Snowblast in an after-school ski club. The 3 of them competed in a Blancouver competition where, while Snowflake was away from home, their parents died in a horrific avalanche. The 3 immediately returned home to have a funeral where Blancover skiers Snow and Snowy came to support their fellow athletes. Snowflake would drop out of school and run the family ski resort and drift away from their old friends. However, years later, Snowflake would reunite with their old friends Snow, Snowy, and Snowstorm. Together, they all moved to Ontario and attended college together. Together, they began competing again and eventually named themselves the Snowballs. The Snowballs became more and more famous and attracted the attention of Jelle, who invited the Snowballs to the first Marble League. They would perform well in the following years, but in 2018, when Jelle and Greg visited the royal family of Ontario, they became the first team to host a Marble League ever. However, hosting ended up being a disaster. Firstly, the Snowballs started off strong but began melting as the competition went on. Secondly, a blizzard caused the stadium to become heavily damaged and destroyed the Snowballs training arena. Then, in the off-season, they DNF'd in the water race and came second to last in the Amazing Marble Race. In 2019, they didn't qualify for the Marble League, but they did win the showdown as a consolation prize for the horrible couple years they just had. They did not achieve any high standings in the following years, and it was time for Snowflake to resign as captain. Even though it was them who brought the team together, Snowflake knew Snowy could do a better job leading everyone. Snowy performed very well in Marbula 1, and Snowflake resigned from the team, allowing Snowstorm to take their place. However, to end on a good note, this year's Marbula 1 was hosted in the newly rebuilt Arctic Circle Stadium. The Snowballs have never been a very stellar team. They got first in 2019, but have only qualified for the Marble League twice since 2016. They are showdown fodder. And as much as it was sad that a marble's parents died, it's clear that the snowballs are struggling. I like them, but I don't like them enough. Snowballs, you are a D-tier team. That actually made me really sad to put the snowballs so low. I know that I've been harsh on a bunch of these teams, and I looked at the ranking and honestly couldn't believe the Oceanics were in B tier. I love the Oceanics. They just break my heart. They really do perform very badly in water events, and it's just rubbing salt on a wound, honestly. Sorry, Oceanics. I do think I've been harsh. I do. I mean, every team works hard to compete, and some even have stories of triumph and redemption. They're underdogs, with some teams being overrated and some teams being underrated. I love these marbles to death, and I care about those glass spheres way too goddamn much. From snow to sky, we now have Team Galactic. Team Galactic comes from Galakanor, a city known for its galactic National Space Center where Cosmos, Starry, Astron, and Pulsar work together. When in 2014, Galakanoner hosted an athletics competition, the four of them signed up under the name Team Galaxy, where they dominated and won half of the events. Their success brought sudden fame to the rocket scientists. This fame drew in Jelle's attention, where they invited Team Galaxy to compete. However, they had to change their name because the Galaxy Corporation threatened to sue the athletes. Unfortunately, trouble came to Team Galactic, and after a very poor showing in the Marble League events, they entered the discussion to retire from the Marble League forever. However, they decided to try for one more year. They performed well in 2019, but behind their team's back, Coach Black Hole had won their bid to host, meaning Team Galactic would be thrown front and center. Would the host's curse affect Team Galactic? Would they face retirement? They began with poor showings in the first few events, but steadily improved over time, winning silver in a physics-based event. However, it was a false spark, and the host curse caught up to Team Galactic with a 7th place finish. Not bad, not amazing. The following year, the team would steel themselves and go to the remote mountains for training in 2021. This training worked out for them as they clutched 5th place and then 3rd place in 2022. Team Galactic had worked hard, and that hard work paid off. I don't know. I don't think I care about Team Galactic. I do. I really like space, though. I think that they are C tier, and with their average performances, they get an average tier. Up next is a marble team with history. Team Momo is made up of members Momo, Momomo, Mo, and Mimo. The teammates come from the villages surrounding the city of Ohm. They met in a dumpling restaurant and bonded over their love of marble sports. When invited to the 2016 Marble League, placing 4th, they became a fan favorite team. However, they are about to weather a storm. In the 2017 Marble League, the fidget spinner collision event, Momo suffered an injury that sent them out of the competition on a gurney. Momo was replaced by Mimo and gave Momo this is so hard. Momo replaced Momo and gave Team Momo encouragement to continue. They only placed 9th that year, but love poured in from all across Marble Earth, and Momo made a full recovery. Momo competed the following year with their team, where they initially struggled. However, they spotted the bobsled event as a moment to shine. They couldn't have been more wrong. Team Momo's sled froze at the starting line because Mo was afraid of heights and was replaced by Mimo. Mimo got the team going. However, at a sharp turn, Momo was ejected from the bobsled and suffered another injury. Doctors rushed to Team Momo and stated that Momo and Momo were unable to continue their competition. Team Momo needed one more member to continue competing. They called on all their friends from Marble Earth, and their close friends, Team Primary, came to their aid. We have yet to talk about Team Primary, but they gave 2 of their members to join the teams into one joined team. This team was called Momary, and although they didn't finish very high in the scoreboard, they won the hearts of many people on Marble Earth. They would split the 2 teams apart after the games, but both teams showed a real camaraderie and love of the sport. Team Momo would charge on, but didn't qualify for the 2019 league. They would use their extended off-season to visit friends from the Midnight Wisps, the Raspberry Racers, and Team Primary. However, they quickly got back into training in hopes to break out of the bottom four. They would end up with a pretty fair 5th place in 2016 and would celebrate that with dinner in the restaurant they met in. The dumpling restaurant honored Team Momo and gave them many awards for their performances. After an 8th place showing in 2020, Team Momo traveled around Asia with a brief stay in the Himalayas, where they relaxed and skied. They would return to the city of and launch their own brand of dumplings. Dude, Momo got injured 2 years in a row, which was wild. I remember watching both 2017 and 2018 and freaking out when Momo was carried out by the paramedics. I was like blown away. Team Momo isn't very good though. In the 22 Marble League Showdown, they did get third, which was good for them, and their hashtag is hashtag Momo Strong, which I sort of like, but I wish they were better in competitions. I kind of think Momo is a bunch of guys who just want to eat some dumplings and would be very kind and nice. Yeah. The problem is that I don't really like Team Momo. I know that's controversial because people love Team Momo. I just always find myself rooting against them. I'm kind of pulled between putting them in B tier because I don't know. They're not on the same level as the Oceanics. You know what? You're right. I'm sorry. But Momo, C tier team. Moving on to their better half is Team Primary. Team Primary began with two siblings I can't struggle with these names. Moving to their better half is Team Primary. Team Primary began with two siblings named Prim and Mary in the Central European city of Van Gotterdam. Prim and Mary were art connoisseurs who, while attending art school, restored many famous historical sites like the Collina Umra. Separately, Rima grew up in Nickingen, who lacked interest in art but loved marble sports. Rima entered in racing competitions where they met the fourth member of Team Primary called Imar. Prim and Mary saw the race the other two participated in and found that they loved the sport. The four members connected and had a quick friendship that resulted in a 10th placement in their first race together. Greg Woods discovered the young marble team and invited them to the 2016 league. Because Team Primary lacked formal training, they struggled against the more experienced teams and placed 12th overall. The following year, Team Primary worked hard and had a strong start to the Marble League. However, upon hearing about Momo's injury, Team Primary felt for them, and even though it damaged their standings, the color-coordinated team aided in Team Momo's recovery. However, there was trouble in paradise. In the 2018 Marble League qualifiers, Prim would have a violent collision with Tumult of the Balls of Chaos. Prim lost their temper and caused a fight between the two teams. The fans joined in on the brawl, causing chaos in the qualifiers. Team Primary would not qualify for the 2018 Marble League and took time away from training. That year, when two of Team Momo's players were injured, there was disagreement within Team Primary to what they should really do. However, we already know how this ends. They would decide to create Team Momary, which didn't place very high, and Team Primary found themselves frustrated with their poor showings, with members threatening to quit. Due to some poor off-season performances, the tension only grew, and in 2019, Team Primary blamed their DNF on the Raspberry Racers and caused another brawl. The fans and athletes were escorted out of the stadium, and referees claim that the racers were not to blame for Primary's misfortune. Team Primary placed last and then didn't even qualify for the following year. The members stopped talking to each other. Months later, Team Momo met with Prim and Mary and told them about the Marble League Showdown. Team Primary pulled themselves back together and reorganized their team. They got a new coach named Secondary, and after group therapy, their relationships began to mend. Team Primary didn't place very high in the following years, but they were motivated to continue. They began heavy training in the events they struggled on, and in 2021, they placed third in the showdown. The following year, Team Primary qualified for the league and placed a fair 8th place. Team Primary has been through a lot, bro. I think that they're okay. Their uniforms aren't good, though. I said they were Team Momary's better half, and I think I was actually mistaken. I thought Primary was a good team, but I think I mistook them for the Crazy Cat's Eyes. I like the Crazy Cat's Eyes, and I think I was just totally mixed up for some reason. They can be in C tier with Team Momo. I might maybe a little higher, as I like the fact that they are scientists who went to therapy, but C tier sounds good for me. Up next is the Thunderbolts, who I'm pretty sure are a good team. The Thunderbolts come from twin sister cities Thorsten and Stormholm in northern Europe. They consisted of Bolta, Bolto, Boltu, and Bolti, who met in the mythological convention in 2020. They shared the same nonverbal disability and used marble sign language to communicate with one another. The early Thunderbolts were regarded as one of the fastest teams in the sport and constantly shocked other teams with their ability to compete regardless of their disability. They were invited to the first Marble League and placed third overall. However, the following year they placed 12th, and the next year they placed 9th. The Thunderbolts were upset with their standings and realized they didn't want to continue. The 4 original members of the Thunderbolts retired together, and it looked like they would take the Thunderbolts name with them. 2019 rolled around, and the Thunderbolts fans were unsure about the status of their team. The team manager, Thunderstorm, took it upon themselves to replace the original members. They convinced 5 trainers named Thunder, Lightning, Bolt, Shock, and Zap to become the new Thunderbolts. Unfortunately, the young team struggled their first year and placed 13th overall. Dejected, the team flew back to their hometowns, but when invited to participate the following year, they jumped at the opportunity. They qualified in 2020 and found themselves once again struggling with the record of longest streak of non-podium finishes. They placed 13th overall and held a press conference with the original members. The original Thunderbolts encouraged the team to continue and told them it's not about medals. It's about determination. The Thunderbolts found themselves reinvigorated, and in the 2021 Winter Special, they placed 5th overall after a strong start. However, they soon began to struggle again. In 2021, the Thunderbolts began strong with a 3rd place overall finish by event 5, but by event 12, they were in 6th place. It wasn't over for the Thunderbolts yet, who, regarded for their speed, finally broke their medalist streak and won a bronze medal in the elimination race. They would end 8th, but without their spirits broken. They would fly home, and hearing the news of the Savage Speeders youth team, the Thunderbolts formed Stormfront to compete with the Tour de Vise. Well, I guess the Thunderbolts actually suck. Apparently, I don't pay enough attention to this dang sport. I have my teams and everyone else can sod off, so the Thunderbolts aren't bad. They kind of look cool. I don't know, they can go B. Yeah, I don't know. I don't really, they can go C, actually. I don't have, like, a lot of positive or negative feelings about them, so I can't remember why I put the Chocolatiers in D, but they're better than the Chocolatiers, so C sounds great. Our final team on the ranking, but not the final team we'll talk about today, is the Turtle Sliders, who I know for a fact are a bad team, so there will be no rug pulling today. The Sliders began their careers racing up against teams like the Oceanics. The Sliders never managed to beat the Oceanics, but when the Oceanics left for the Marble League, the Chelonian team broke up, leaving only Shelley to find 4 other members. They recruited an actor named Crush, who was famous for his role in the nondescript entertainment company's movie about a father who lost his son. Crush's son Squirt also joined the team, as they'd always looked up to the Turtle Sliders. Frank joined from a minor league team, and lastly, Dash came in as a rising star in marble sports due to posting videos on the internet. Shelley, Crush, Squirt, Dash, and Frank first competed in the 2019 showdown and posted this message online about facing their former rivals named the Oceanics. "We are coming for you. We will not stand in your shadow. We are here to take it all. Our goal is to make it to the Marble League and win it all. We made it this far. We aren't going to stop now. We will make it to the starting line next to you, and when we do, you better be prepared. Your past is catching up to you." Which is a frightening message from a turtle-themed team. The showdown approached, and the Sliders stunk. They placed 10th overall and reached out to their friends, the Crazy Cat's Eyes. The 2 teams met in, I've practiced this, Felinia, and raced together in the joyous pairing of 2 teams. The Sliders returned home with the determination to make it to the league so they could compete with their friends. 2020 came, and the Sliders placed a heartbreaking 9th place. Joined by the Cat's Eyes and some of Team Momo, they went to a juice bar to fill their spirits. The Sliders once again trained in Felinia with their friends, and in 2021, they fought their hardest battle but fell 2 points away from qualifying for the league. They were doing just as bad as they always did, if I'm honest. The team was confused because they were always top 3 in the 7C circuit, but it was clear that the Marble League teams were truly world class. The Sliders continued with determination and placed 4th in the 2022 showdown. Okay, this might not surprise you, But I like the sliders. I know. I don't know what it is. I like aquatic creatures. I think their uniforms aren't the uniforms aren't amazing, but I like the brown stripes. I also like the nondescript movie bit. I thought that was really good. They're just a bad team. Like, I get it. I get it. I can't help but like them. Freaking turtle sliders. Enjoy your B tier spot. So I guess that's the end of the ranking, right? No, it's not. This chart, as I already said, was made in 2019, which means there are teams that were made before the chart came out and they just didn't compete that year. And there are teams made after the chart came out, like in 2021 and 2022. There are currently 32 teams in the league, so there's 16 in the main and there's 16 in the showdown. But there are going to be more than 32 teams we talk about today, which is like, that doesn't really matter. These teams are on the chart. In no particular order, we're starting with the Blackjacks. The Blackjacks used to race in the Bueno tournament, which ended in 2018. The Blackjacks currently consist of Club, Diamond, Heart, Spade, and Ace. They're placed in the top 3 in the Bueno in 2018, but did not qualify for the Marble League that year. They retired for 3 years to come back and, to quote the wiki, had the worst finish in Marble Mania X tournament by any new or returning team. Which is like kind of iconic. Like, they came back after 3 years to compete in Marble Mania X and they just like tanked it. They did place 3rd in the 2022 showdown, providing hope for the returning team. D tier, I think their logo is bad. The Gliding Glaciers are a team that I quite like. The original team fully retired in 2018 to be replaced by Alpine Frost, Iceberg, Polar, and Sheet. The original Glaciers wanted to host in 2018, but lost their bid to a different snow-themed team called the Snowballs. On top of that, the Glaciers failed to qualify in 2018. They returned in 2021 due to encouragement from the other teams and placed 3rd. Unfortunately, they placed 10th in 2022, but I've said this so many times, 2022 was an upside down year, and if they can continue to prove themselves, the Glaciers might be one of my favorite teams. I like their uniforms, and I think they're pretty cool. Definitely B tier. Team Plasma was originally supposed to compete in 2018, but didn't qualify and retired, which kind of sounds like a sore loser if I'm being honest. Their wiki is also like insanely long. The original 2018 team returned in 2022 to compete in the showdown and they got first. This was the encouragement that Echo, Pharaoh, Glumo, Phanto, and Ghost needed after retiring in 2018 due to lack of motivation. Also, I need to say this again. Their wiki is so like insanely long for not competing or doing anything. Like, it's so long. I don't want to spend a lot of time on them, but I like them. I think they're cool looking dudes, and whoever wrote their wiki sure had a lot of love for them. I think their uniforms are like like I said, they're nice, and I like that you can tell that they're clear in some shots, but in some shots they're like, I'll put them in C because nothing about them blows my mind. I almost skipped over these guys, but it's the Wolf Pack. The Wolf Pack is a new team with scant information on their wiki. However, this is what they look like, and I like the fact that their reserve is named Sheep. They placed 6th in the 2021 showdown, but I think they're a team with a real possibility to do well, and I like them and hope they succeed. B tier. Second to last is the Solar Flares, a new team to the Marble League. They consist of Flare, Scorch, Radiance, Ember, and Blaze. They were incredible young athletes who, until a couple years ago, were just too young to compete in the Marble League. However, 2021 was their year to shine. But after not qualifying for the league, they placed 12th in the showdown. Unfortunately, they struggled the following year in 2022 and placed 15th overall. They're still a young team, but they may be stuck at the bottom with other teams like the Turtle Sliders. Yeah, I don't know about the Flares. Their uniforms are so close to being good, but just aren't. They're a D tier team, and you know, I actually kind of want to put a 3rd team in F tier, so bye bye, Flares. I can't hear you complaining from last place. Last but not least, we have the Purple Rockets. They've been around a long time and were created to compete in Marble Mania X. They consist of Orbit, Sulfur, Dwarf, Saucer, and Blast. I also need to say the city that they met in because it's really funny. They met in Sheetersburg. They won the 2021 Marble Mania X but placed 9th in the showdown. I'm not the biggest fan of the Rockets from the wiki. I think that they're probably nice, but I don't find myself drawn to them. They're also allegedly purple in person, but all the photographs they show are like really dark. I don't love their names as they seem only tangentially related to rocketry, but I haven't watched Marble Mania X, so I won't write them off completely. They're definitely a D tier team because I definitely like the Thunderbolts a lot more than I like the Rockets. But I feel like some of my D tier picks are only down there because they do consistently bad in the league and the showdown. Looking at my ranking, it's like wild, dude. I feel like I was mean to some, nice to others. I feel like I honestly like kind of like moved some stuff around, but I won't. I made my choice and I am sticking to it. I'm surprised at how low the Thunderbolts and Team Momo are, but even more than that, I can't believe I put the Pinkies in low B tier. The O'rangers, my dear, it must be so lonely at the top. Oceanics, my first love, there is always next year. Also, in my final edit, I did decide to try and see if there was a more up to date ranking with the new teams, and of course there was. I just didn't try and look hard enough. I am actually really surprised by some of these placements, but that's how I feel. I was blown away by the amount of love and lore about these marbles that there is. I thought this was really going to be a quick and easy video for January, but gosh, this is 21 damn pages of script I've read. If you watch the Marble League, please scream at me in the comments below. I need to know what people are thinking. The Reddit, I feel like, is biased somehow against the O'rangers. I need to know if it's just me. If you don't watch the Marble League, you should. Just pick a year and pick a team and try not to be disappointed. The 2022 league was just as good as the rest, but I think my favorite is the 2018 league. I vividly remember that Marble League and like watching it during my physics class and being shocked at the injuries and the fights. To sign off, I told my best friend the story about the Green Ducks and Mallard losing their parents. She looked at me and said, "How did you figure out about the Marble League?" And I looked back at her and had to bite my tongue to physically not say, "I am lost in pop culture." Have a great 2023. I will see you all again.